every single life matters.
The primary responsibility of government, first of all, which is security.
We bank mostly on intervention rather than prevention.
Democracy is a government where power resides with the people.
Hello and a very warm welcome to you. This is U.Gov. It's all about you and all about the government, and that is why we are asking your opinion this week about the continued closure of churches in some parts of Nigeria. And again, some churches that were open earlier, the government had to shut the churches down again for alleged violation of COVID-19 rules. So the fiasco continues. This is what we're talking about this week, church closure and how it affects us. It's Olomu-Agbodo. We'll go on a quick break. We'll be right back.
From Lagos
to London, from Johannesburg
for several years, our economy
to the United States,
identifying houses of worship.
We have all the world covered for you, no matter where you are.
Love with News is at the heart of it all.
I have experience.
We bring you our perspectives of stories behind the story.
The signs given to us for the entry of these things are before us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us on this station.
This week on EduBox, we are taking a look at the postponement of the planned reopening of churches in Lagos State, southwest Nigeria, which has continued to generate reactions. Nigerians are challenging the development, saying the church is a place of healing. Some reactions in our Street Teacher segment.
To me, COVID-19 is not disturbing churches in place of worship, seeing that, offices and marketplace is going on. So why do we need to close church down? So to me, we need to open church so that everything will be normal.
To me, closing church down is not all the best, because it's one of the avenues by which you can pray that God will answer and heal the land. But since they've decided to open bars, open shop mall, open markets, and close down worship center, then maybe they have other things they rely on for God to intervene. But as for me, it's very bad. It's very bad. The churches as well as organized as the markets and other places that were open. So that you see, most people have lost their faith. Some are not even worshiping. We resort in home fellowship. How many people are doing it? So people are very far from God now. Gather together again and worship God. So any stipulation they put on ground will be well observed. In as much as entering bus, you have to put on your face mask. You have to wash your hands. Since we are doing that in bank, we do also in the church.
You're welcome back. Well, if you just joined us, this is U.Gov, and this week on the show, we are taking a look at closure of churches. Some churches were open, some became closed again, and all that. So we are asking again, what is the rationale behind the lockdown of churches? And I want to listen to Pastor Chris talking about this lockdown and the fact that there's no scientific explanation, no basis for a lockdown to continue.
And that's why I've said that a lot of what's happening is not science. It's not science at all. And I'm glad that around the world, a lot of scientists are speaking up now. And it's time for them to be bold and tell the truth. I mean, for example, I did say that the lockdown was not science. It was not science. And now several scientists, medical doctors, virologists, immunologists, a lot of them have spoken around the world to say that the lockdown was not science. So I was right all the time.
Heard him, Pastor Chris, saying there is no scientific explanation behind a lockdown, and lockdown should not continue. And looking at it as a citizen, the lockdown affects you, affects me, and it's a violation of our rights. Telling us to sit at home perpetually is a violation of our rights to assemble, and society generally, especially in this part of the world, we like to congregate, we like to come together, and it is our fundamental right to assemble, and it is guaranteed by the 1999 Constitution in Chapter 4. And of course, you heard Nigerians talking about the fact that people are moving about, so why should churches remain closed? And we are seeing that markets are open, businesses are open, and people spend longer time in their places of business than in churches. And of course, we have someone who'll be talking about this on this show this week.
First of all, I do not subscribe to the church being shut down. For instance, from the inception, we saw how at the start of the pandemic, which is global, it came with a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of people not knowing what to do. But then the church stepped in, offering a sort of a guide, a message of hope, of faith to people all around the world. And then the church spearheading people coming together to pray. You see, this in itself has, brought about a lot of dispelling of fear. It has brought succor, it has brought hope, it has brought joy to people. You see, when we have issues like this, we see that the church is a place of faith. It's a place that offers a message to people that drives out fear, uncertainty out of them. We saw how, while people were in their houses, while they were behind their gates, the church stepped out. And then there's a short direction and guidance for people. People knew what to do. They didn't have to live in fear. So you see, the church in itself is a place where that offers solution to people. And then we've seen how it's been shifted, the reopening of the lockdown has been shifted from time to time, and how what is prevalent and happening right now. People go to the markets, people go to different places, but then, why should the church be shut down? This is a place where people should be allowed to come in. People should be allowed to hear the message of faith. You see, the pandemic has killed people, or do I say, the thought and the fear has killed people, has kept them in their houses. The uncertainty, the unsurety has kept people in their houses, not knowing what to do. But you see, in the gathering of the Christians, it's like an elixir. It's a place where it drives away fear. People come together, congregate, share, worship. It drives out fear. It brings hope. I know that the government, for one, might not really understand the place of the church. They might not understand the nitty-gritty about the church because, first of all, they might not know. But of course, there's an importance of the church. There's the I think that what we see now, the moral decadence in the society, which seems as though it is just evolving, didn't just start. It is a trigger of so many issues, you see. It's a trigger of so many issues. It didn't just start. We are just seeing a ripple effect of something that's been stirred already. So it takes us back to the formation. It takes us back to the education of a people. It takes us back to the development of a people. It takes us back to what are our children being fed? in terms of the kind of education we give to them? What are they being fed? In terms of morals, how are they being schooled? How are they being, how do I say now? Are they being cultured? It's an acculturization of the mind. But we have seen that, I, for one, I grew up through the structures here. I grew up from a Christian home. I remembered our days in the children's church, growing into the teens church, growing into the mainstream adult church. So there's a training that it has given to us already. You see, even as we were taught morals in school, moral instruction and every of those things, but then there's this morals enshrined already in the scriptures. This is enshrined in the scriptures already. We were taught tolerance. We were taught morals. We were taught the good. So when we went to this society and we were mixed with differences, we knew how to go. You see, I can remember when I was very little. I think my parents made it like a kind of structure. We went to, of course, missionary schools. So you see, and there's something I found fundamental is that there's an upbringing that is enshrined in the culture of the church in terms of morals. I can remember the mottos of my schools that I went to. Walk and pray. You see, those things formed my mindset. And as the scripture will say, train a child in the way that he should go. You see, when he grows, he will not depart from it. So you see, and the church has filled that gap. Filled the gap in the sense that when children come to the children's church, they are taught morals. They are taught the way of the Lord. They grow in wisdom. They grow in the right way. Not forgetting that these children are going to be introduced to the society at a certain stage of their life, where they come in contact with different people. People from different homes, people from different places, from different upbringing. But at that point, they know what to do. They don't just go mingling with the crowd. It is set already. They are set on a path that they should follow. But you see, when you shut the church down, you see, not forgetting that when you say that the churches should meet online, you see, there's an intimation, a meet with the teacher and the child and the one that is being taught. There's a transfer of how do I say that, of culture. There's a lot to what you can do online and so much to what you can do. So the church itself is an institution. There's a lot that the church does, which the government might not even know. So they think it's just about children coming to church, people go to church every Sunday, but they don't know that it is a spiritual place. And you know, when you culture the spiritual, when you culture the spirit of a person, what you do is that the body follows, the soul follows. You see? So that's how it is. The government might not understand the import of the churches. They might not understand. But we as Christians, we know. We know. That calls us now to the Christians in the place of policy making, in the right positions to make policies. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you just going to let it lay by? Because you know the import. You know. There's so many things that the school might not be able to do. But you see, as those children come to church every Sunday, as they come to church, you know that there's a development of their mind. And they turn out to be the adults in the society. They turn out to be the ones to take decisions. They become the policy makers. So you see, so we can't just allow the church to be shut because the church has a place. The church has a place in the forming of morals, in the teaching of people's morals, in the instilling of morality into people. The church has a place. So the church cannot be completely shut out.
Well, he was talking about the fact that there is no rationale behind it, and the church is a place of morals. And thank God for countries like Tanzania, like some other countries, Madagascar, they actually did their research. They actually said we shouldn't be focusing on lockdown. We should focus on solutions and the president of Tanzania, for instance, said the church is a place of solutions and the churches should remain open. So throughout the period of lockdown, the churches were open because he said that is a place where people can actually get healing. And that is very true. We're going on a quick break. We'll be right back.
It's 3,653 days snowballed into 10 years of victories, 10 years of impact, 10 years of beauty, 10 years of excellence, and 10 years of successes. Thank you, our dear esteemed partners. You made the years worth its while. For your unflinching support, your seeds of love, for standing with us through and through. Thank you. It's our festival of vibes.
Okay, our guest is standing by, and he'll be talking about some recommendations to the government, to you, to me, and to everyone generally in the society. What should we be doing now, seeing that crime increased during the period of lockdown? Is it not indicative of the fact that if churches were open, criminal activities would have been less? Take a listen.
First of all, I think that there is no logical explanation for the shutting down of churches. I'll explain to you. 2 days ago, I was on my way from my house to the office. So I was in a public bus commuting to the office. And then the driver in the bus brought a topic to our awareness. He said he has discovered that on his way, commuting to where he's going, there's a certain market, a whole lot of people. Well, there's a certain time where the market is open and shoppers are allowed to come in. And they all come in. Then he said, if you want to tell me that there's COVID-19 in Nigeria, if you tell me that people should not get together, if you are talking about social distancing, then you should give me an example of somebody who went to that market and contacted COVID-19. Because this is a place where people do their business. They touch themselves. It cited the case of, before the opening of the market, people are outside the market waiting to enter. And then, when it is opened, people rush in. A lot of touching, a lot of contacts. Multiple contacts, people contacting and all that. He said, if you can't give me an example of somebody who contacted COVID-19 from that market, then that is proof positive that you can't shut down the churches. And I think there's a lot of sense in that. There is still no rationale behind closing churches. Markets, even though you say that you give them time to open, there's no social distancing rule observed in those marketplaces. people are commuting, going about their businesses. There's no such social distancing rules being observed. And then you even come to a place like the church, and you say you are closing down the church because of the social distancing rule. So I think it's a case of double standard. You see, and we know that the church itself is a regulated place. The church itself is a place where things go. I think, what I think is that these governmental people should first of all take an observation. Probably go to these churches, observe how things are done. Because you can't make rules if you don't even understand. You don't even understand how the churches are. You should first of all go to the churches. I think there should be like an observation. Go to the churches. See how things are done. Listen to the messages in the churches. And see how it blesses lives. You can't just stay in your high horse or somewhere and you're making... That brings us to the question of development. You see? There's something we know in development. You can't stay afar and you're talking about development. You can't stay afar and you're saying that you're making policies. You should go to these places. Know how things are done. Go to the churches. Know how things are done. Listen to what is happening in the churches. Listen to the message of faith, which in itself is going to bless you. You should go. Probably the government should have like a team. Go and observe for yourself. Go to the mainstream, go to the church. Go to the children's church. Listen to how those messages blesses lives. And see if it's not going to be instrumental to you, and see if it's not going to be instrumental to the society. Then you can now talk about probably stopping churches. There's no rationale, there's no scientific rationale to it. Neither is there any moral rationale to it. There's no developmental rationale to it. There's not just any justification to it. So what I would say is this. The governmental people, the leaders, should maybe in some ways change their status quo, go to the churches, observe, see what is happening in the churches, be a part of the church, listen to the messages, listen to what is, just come to the church, sit down, listen to the messages, listen to what is happening in the churches, and you see how it blesses you. And that is proof positive that if it can bless you, it will also bless each and everyone in the society. And probably you will see the reason why the churches shouldn't be shut down. Because when you shut down the churches, you are stopping people from being blessed. You are stopping people from enjoying the benefits of what the church can offer. Not just to the people, but to the society. First of all, to the government, I would say, and I still maintain my stand, that the churches shouldn't be closed. I know that at some point, the governmental policies went by saying that the different stakeholders should, for themselves, draw out ways in which the guidelines of and offices and everyone should have like guidelines drawn up by themselves to how they are going to operate during the lockdown. Well, this is what I think. I think that it should be broken down to, first of all, to the different churches. You see, the different churches should come out with ways by which you should listen to the church. I still maintain that there should be an observation team which should go to the churches, get involved, just go to the churches. There's no how you make policies over what you don't understand. Go to the churches. Be a part of just go to the churches. Be a part of the service. Listen to the message. Because this message cuts across personalities. It reaches your soul, it reaches your spirit, it blesses you. The gospel of Christ is a blessing. It will bless you. So you first of all go. Then when you observe, when you listen to these messages, then you can now tell and say if it is helpful to the society or not. Rather than just stay in the offices and think that you just make policies. Be involved, observe, go to the churches, listen to the message, congregate, be a part of the congregation for yourself, and see if it is not a blessing. And then to the people, what I'll say is this: you don't have to be afraid of the pandemic. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to worry. You don't have to be in panic. And then, of course, just as the Bible teaches us to listen to authority, just listen to authority. And as to the case of the rape and all that's happening in the society, I think that, first of all, the parents should give attention to their children, give attention to them, give attention to your children, give attention to their moral growth, to their well-being, and to their development. That's what I think. That's my opinion.
Well, quite interesting. This week we talked about the continued closure of churches and why churches should be open, because really there's no scientific basis for locking churches, for keeping churches locked. Of course, you cannot stop the church because we can meet anywhere, but we have the right to gather together. We have the right to assemble, and that right is guaranteed by the Constitution. And that's why we are happy that a lot of lawyers are coming out now to challenge the lockdown and the continued closure of churches. We would like you to join the conversation by sending your comments to u.gov. Using our hashtag #YouGov, and you can also use our hashtag #LoveWorldPlus. But we have some more tidbits for you. Well, that's much you can take this week on u.gov. We talked about the fact that churches should be open. There's no logical explanation for keeping churches locked. You cannot stop the church anyway, but we have a right to gather. And that is what we talked about this week. We would also like you to join the conversation by using our hashtag #YouGov, #LoveWorldPlus, and we also like you to download our app, LoveWorldPlus, on any of the mobile app stores. You can also send comments to the number showing on your screen now. I am Olomu-Agbodo. God bless you, and God bless Nigeria.